It's been quite a few years since I flew F-16s in the Air Force. Longer ago than I care to admit. You know, I learned a lot of lessons flying as a young man, as a fighter pilot. But probably the most important lesson I learned of all happened while I was dogfighting with a flight lead over the ocean off the coast of North Carolina. When we got back, we debriefed and my flight instructor told me, "Chuck, there's one thing that you need to remember. And that is that if you ever lose sight of your enemy, you're going to lose the fight." That became very evident as we reviewed my film, and I died a number of times that day. And I remember that lesson because it's so very true, and it really stuck with me as I transitioned from fighter pilot to father. And I started to think about how important it was that we as Christians raise young men and women that will truly go out and be soldiers for Christ in the spiritual battle that Jesus talked of so often. And that lesson came back to me. I knew that if my kids ever lost sight of the enemy, that they would probably lose the fight. And although we need to keep our eyes focused on Jesus Christ and the victory that He has in store for us, there is a raging battle around us. And if we ever lose sight of the enemy, there's a chance we could lose that fight. My heart for Wars of the Realm is to emphasize just how important it is that we keep sight of the enemy, and more importantly, sight of our Savior, Jesus Christ. You know, it started out with Cloak of the Light. Drew Carter was just an ordinary man. But what I tried to do through this book was give the reader a glimpse into an epic story that could happen to any one of us. An ordinary young man that God had a great calling on his life. At the end of that book, I led into a new character, an angel named Validus. And that's really the heart of Rise of the Fallen. This book here carries on the story of Drew Carter, but from the perspective of the angel that God has called to protect and guard him. And just as God had a special call on Drew's life, He's got a special call for the angel Validus. And as we learn in this book, that there is something tremendous that God has in store for every single person that puts their heart and trust in Jesus Christ. This story will take you through time and give you a picture of spiritual warfare like you've never seen before. And I'm excited to share it with the readers out there. Following Rise of the Fallen, I just turned the manuscript in for the last book, Light of the Last, where it takes the two stories of an angel and a man and entwines them into an epic adventure that becomes global in its scope. And so I hope that you can just enjoy this fictional story that is based on very real spiritual warfare. A warfare that God has called every one of us to be part of. We're not to sit on the bench. We're supposed to get in the game. We're supposed to engage and charge the hill and retake this land for Jesus Christ. So join me as we embark on an adventure of epic proportions. God bless.